Well, it's one of the oldest tropes in the fantasy book, but is it too cliche? Today we're going to talk about the wise old teacher. Stay tuned. Hey everyone, thanks for checking out this video. So, the wise old man, or the wise old woman, is usually pivotal to the hero's journey because they provide that guidance that the hero didn't have before. And unfortunately, the wise old teacher usually meets a tragic demise, which helps fuel the hero's quest moving forward. Not always, but most of the time. It's never a good sign when the wise old teacher comes, especially if the wise old teacher says that they're going to show the character the super secret technique that will solve everybody's problems. But lately, the wise old teacher has been deemed as somewhat of a cliche, and that's really not fair to say because there's still so much you can do with the trope. I always say that there's no bad tropes, there's just cliche writing, and that's kind of what we're going to talk about today. So let's first start off by figuring out what the wise old teacher is all about. Alright, so let's just break this down in the most obvious order. The wise old teacher is wise, old, and a teacher. Now they're wise usually for one specific area of expertise, maybe magic, maybe history, maybe they know all about the dragon that the hero is trying to fell, and it's that wisdom that really makes them integral to the story. The old part is where the wisdom comes from. They're old because, well, it's kind of like a chicken or the egg type thing. Are they old because they were so wise to live that long, or are they that wise because they got that old and they just got lucky that whole time? Depends on the world. But that's basically all there is to the old element. And I really don't see why it matters that the character is old. But some people really do seem to have a problem with a wise old teacher. Anyway, the teacher part goes hand in hand with the wise part. Because they're wise, they're imparting their wisdom onto, I don't know, the not so wise main character. So it all works out really well, which is probably why it's been used so many times and continues to be used. But there are some reasons why it could be considered cliche, such as, like I mentioned earlier, the writing is where the cliche comes in. So if you are basically writing Gandalf 2.0 or 9.0, I don't know, then it's going to come across as cliche. But if you're feeling like there's nowhere left to go with the wise old teacher, I got good news for you. There's plenty of ways to revamp this trope and make it as good as new. That's what we're going to get into next. So the first thing we can change about the wise old teacher is their goal. Now traditionally the goal is just centered around training the hero. Get the hero in shape, get the hero casting magic, and then go off and die. That's basically been the wise old teacher's only goal historically. But you can really spruce up the trope by giving the wise old teacher their own goal. Make them be their own person with their own wants and needs. Maybe the wise old teacher wants to found a magic school or wants to settle a village of his own. I don't know. Give him a goal, or her a goal. And you'll really start to notice the human element entering a dusty old trope. The next thing you can do to fix up the trope is to just give the wise old teacher a backstory. Most of the time, the wise old teacher doesn't even get a backstory. They were just born old and for the singular purpose of training the hero. But a backstory, it pays dividends. I mean, you give them a start, an origin story, where they got their powers from, where they got their wisdom from, and before long, it feels like it's an actual character. It's not just this wise old person that's going to go off and, you know, fight Darth Vader and die. A third option is the introduction. Now, this introduction is always a little tricky, but it's one of the most pivotal ways to revamp a trope. The introduction is where you're gonna show your reader, this is what kind of story I'm writing. And if you introduce the wise old teacher the same way it's been done every other book, every other story, then the reader will tune out. They'll say, this is cliche, I've seen this before. But if you just take the time to think of a clever way to introduce it, maybe, like for example, don't let anybody know that they're a wise old teacher at first. Make them be clumsy or rude, whatever, you know, just, I don't want to deal with you and you don't want to deal with me. And then they get sucked into the story and, oh, hey, there's the wise old teacher. He was here all the time. Or you could make them already be, you know, introduced to the characters. And I'm sure that's been done before, but not as commonly. The whole point of that would be that it doesn't come sneaking up on you, go, I'm your teacher and I've been waiting for you to come to my summit for 3,000 years just so I can fulfill my singular purpose. Like that. Make them be there. Make them be a family member. Make them be an acquaintance. It's really not hard to think of different ways to put that character into the story. And then after that, it's a lot easier because you've already got the ground laid down. Those are just 3 ways that you can fix up the trope and make it feel new. I don't want to get into all the different techniques you can use. I'd actually like to hear from you. So, in case you didn't notice, this is my first video. And at the time of posting this, I probably don't have a single viewer. So if you are that viewer, please leave a comment in the section below. And don't forget to like and subscribe. You've probably heard that a million times, but it really does help, especially considering the aforementioned lack of views that I'll be having at this point in time. I hope you enjoyed this video, and we'll see you next time.